Previously on My Voices Have Tourettes.
I didn't have all these tics before we started recording.
We just got so triggered by each other.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's...
Hello and welcome to My Voices Have Tourettes, and that's why we're all in this together, Tourette's Part 2. My name is Dan Zarin, and I'm your host. Let's get started here. So today's episode is brought to you by Gamesless Studio, The Secret Cellar, Iceland's first and only comedy club, and Smáre's Volcano Sauce, the greatest hot sauces I've ever had in my life. So, as you may have heard before, I mentioned Part 2. So this is the second part of a two-part episode, which I recorded with my friend Elva. We released Part 1 last week. Basically, what we did in this episode, for those of you who are catching up here, is I asked people in the Tourette community about things that they think people either do not know about Tourette Syndrome or things that they wish people knew about Tourette Syndrome or they want them to know about it. And then Elva and I talked about those responses on this podcast. If you have not listened to Part 1 before now, stop what you're doing. Go, if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, go back, listen to episode 13, hear all of the beginning, and then come back to this. All right, you did that? All right, cool. Here's part 2. Enjoy. So the next one is the constant fight within myself because I always feel out of control. I cannot even control my own body or mind. It's terrifying.
Yeah. And exhausting.
Yeah.
It's so exhausting.
That goes along with the exhaustion thing.
Yeah. Noise in your head all the time.
And that is a side of it that I think even people with Tourette's, we kind of forget a lot, is that thought of how terrifying it is when we actually sit down and we think, like, fuck, I can't control this.
Yeah. I try not to do that. I try to just like, nope, I'm not going there because
it's a really dark place.
Yeah.
It's like that thing of like how every once in a while when you joke of like I'm trying not to move.
Yeah.
You know, it's that thing of like you know, because it doesn't happen to me as often anymore. Specifically because I don't drink as much now. Yeah. But I mean, when I would be drunk and the tics would get really, really bad, I would have those thoughts of like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? I can't control this.
Yeah.
It's never going away. There's no cure. Like I can joke all I want, but it's never going anywhere. Yeah. Although I think to be fair though, the laughter does help. It does because it does make me realize that well, it's not going anywhere, but at least I have my humor.
Yeah.
At least I have that.
And I have my friends that are ready to laugh about this
and
also
just as
with
weird.
Me. Yeah. So, and like having someone else that has Tourette's, I feel that has helped me a lot those last few years too. Like when I got to know you and all that, there's just something like there's a kind of a language that we speak that no one else. Yeah. You know, you can say to me, "Oh, I'm just really like this today," and I will be like, "Oh, okay," you know, and I know what you're talking about, and so. I feel that helps if we just don't look at each other a lot because then we just...
if we just don't look at each other. This was such a sweet like moment. And then you're just like, but if we just don't look at each other, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know.
No, but I have seen, like, I didn't notice it before, but then I decided to like check it out. And when we were doing the show before COVID, I actually figured out that when I'm watching you on stage, my tics just go all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of have to like just listen and not look at you so I won't be, you know, so I can do my, you know, stuff in the show. So yeah, it is it is tricky.
I just remembered I had one night where someone asked me, they were just like, you always talk about how Elva is like the best comedian you've ever seen. And then you left during her set. Why'd you do that? And I'm just like, for my sanity.
Yeah.
Because I know what's going to happen if I watch another person with Tourette syndrome. And they're just like, then why do you do the show? And I'm like, okay, you know what? Good point. But that's not the point.
Go away. We don't need you here.
No, it is good. Like it is good. Everyone, and I try not to leave, and I like watching your sets. But it is tough
but
sometimes.
It is a thing.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
It is fun. It's funny. It's not funny, and it's not fun all at the same time.
Yeah. And like, because we have learned to laugh at it, it makes like now, I mean, before we started recording, neither of us had all these tics we're having now. No. I don't know what happened. Just record, and then we just like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's probably because we both are thinking, okay, I have to try to have, less like vocal tics and something like suppress it, and then it just like goes all out there.
Yeah. The next comment, I wanted to go to this one because this has actually been one that caused a lot of suffering for me for a long time. Was the feeling that you're faking just because sometimes you can suppress it. Because I don't know if you've had that, but for a long time I actually wondered if because people would like this was before we even met.
Yeah.
But I had moments where like I would see online people would be like, oh, that person's just faking. They just want to do this all the time, or they just want attention. And it got me thinking of like, oh, well, crap. Like, I mean, I can kind of stop my tics sometimes. Does that mean that I don't have Tourette syndrome?
Yeah.
And it caused a lot of mental pain because, I mean, sitting there and thinking, well, maybe I don't have this when you do.
Yeah.
And maybe I can stop it. It basically subconsciously, I was trying so hard to stop stuff.
Yeah.
That then it caused even more pain. I was at the point where I was taking extra strength painkillers, well, like they were candy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was taking them constantly because I was in so much pain.
Yeah. I haven't gotten that. No one has said that I was probably faking it. And my tics started when I was 6. So I would have to be a great pretender to do this from the time of 6, the age of 6 and until now. But I think that's also because, Iceland is a much smaller community. So it's maybe easier to kind of educate people about things like this. So, yeah.
That is the nice thing about Iceland being so small. Because it's also a lot easier because it seems like everyone here, it's like they know someone with everything.
Yeah.
Because it's such a small population.
Yeah.
So when
we're all just swimming in the same gene pool and so we all just kind of crazy.
Yeah. So the next one is that suppressing them feels like, we already talked about this. That suppressing them feels like trying to hold in a sneeze while getting hit with a cattle prod. So it's doable, but in very limited small scales, but by no means sustainable. We did already kind of talk about, but that's just I love that analogy.
Yeah.
The next one is that Tourette's doesn't affect our intelligence.
Yeah, that is true, and that is a thing I have been fighting with since I was a teenager, I feel, because I used to feel, and I sometimes do now, that because of my tics, people would just think I was just weird, and that I was, had like learning disabilities, or or anything like that, and I don't, and I never had when I was a kid or a teenager, and so I felt I wasn't given a chance sometimes to just be normal, because people just
Had
assumed
assumptions.
that I was, there was something wrong with my intelligence, and it's not.
Well, and there's a great comment from another person here that said that there are very successful people in many fields with Tourette syndrome, and many who have advanced degrees from elite universities.
Yeah.
So it's very true. I mean, and there are celebrities with Tourette syndrome.
We're everywhere.
There are people doing comedy shows and podcasts under the name My Voices Have Tourettes.
Yeah.
Not to toot our own horn.
No.
To copy Stepman. I love that joke that he does. Not to toot my own horn, but but yeah, I mean there are I mean and that's one of the things that is actually that helped me a lot was when I found out that like Dan Aykroyd was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome at one point, and finding out that someone that I have looked up to my whole life also has what I have, maybe a different degree of it. I don't know, but to find out that someone has this, it's very inspiring.
Yeah.
It's very motivating.
It is.
But it also shows like that comments say. I mean, there are so many just genius people that have not just Tourette syndrome, but have other things. Like, I mean, people look at autistic people as affecting their intelligence, but I mean, there are autistic people that are some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life.
Stepner.
I mean, Stepnet is genius. He's a brilliant mind. Coprolalia is highly intelligent. I mean, it's just to say that these do not affect our intelligence. They do not affect our intelligence. But the next one was it does affect how we think, and that I actually do agree with because of mental tics. Mental tics can affect how our thought processes go.
Yeah. And also, like with ADHD, it's classified as like I'm not sure what it's called in English. It's like your emotional and your maturity, ADHD is kind of a disorder that holds people back a little bit in that direction, so we can be a little bit it has nothing to do with our intelligence, but we can be maybe like act like young, like teenagers or like young adults, like long, until you're 40 or whatever. No, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, and I think that. I mean, with mental tics, because this is something that does not get talked about a lot. I mean, I've described sometimes like I get glitchy thoughts. So like I'll get so like if I have a word that pops into my head, then it like part of the word will glitch in my head, and I'll like hear that word over and over again in my head. Sometimes not like if I'm picturing something in my head, like someone's talking about something. I've noticed sometimes like if I imagine people in my head, they'll like walk a little bit, and then it's like the Matrix, like they glitch back to where they were and walk again, just over and over again. And I do have that with that is affected also with my ADD, where I can't process the right order of thoughts a lot. Sometimes it's because they keep just going back and forth and back and forth.
I think I haven't had anything like that, but there's a thing I've noticed recently, and that is when I'm watching maybe TV, and this especially happens when someone says something funny. and I'm maybe watching stand up or something in the TV, and the person says something, and because I find it funny, I have to repeat it out loud.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to anyone, even though someone is watching TV with me. I'm not doing it because of that. It's just a thing I do. It's just a thing I do. So, it's weird, and I just started like realizing this, and I do that also if I'm watching stand up like in Secret Cellar or something. Mm-hmm. I will whisper to myself, and then I'm like, I don't know why because it doesn't happen, in real life.
Right.
It's just when I'm in these situations.
Yeah, exactly. All right. But the next one is, actually, this was something that came up, and I'm just learning about it now. I didn't really know a lot about it. I actually never knew anything about it. Was tick rages? Have you heard of these?
Explain.
I actually I kind of want to look up like the official definition.
Are you talking about like the Tourette storms?
Yeah, like Tourette storms, like rage attacks. So they are sudden out of control bursts of anger. These explosive outbursts can start without warning. They may also seem to be out of proportion to what triggered the episode.
Yeah. I actually relate this more with the OCD. Because it happens in situations where like when I was a kid and my mom and dad said, "Oh, we're gonna go to this place and eat dinner," and then something maybe happened. It's like, okay, we can't go tonight. We will go tomorrow night. And then I would freak out and I would scream and cry and slam doors and kick things and all that. And now I know it's because like the OCD, I had tuned myself into the thought that we are going to eat there tonight. And then when it changes, all of a sudden, I can't deal with it. And
right.
This is what happened, It's also, I'm in more danger of doing this if I'm very tired.
Yeah.
That's why I need to rest a lot. And like my son, he had those two. So, and I had this up until like, I could easily do this now. It wasn't just when I was a kid and teenager.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a difficult thing because you lose a bit of your self like image and stuff when this happens because you feel like you're always in the wrong somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to the next one here. It bothers me. It bothers me when others refer to Tourette syndrome as heartbreaking. That descriptor comes up frequently in groups. I think it's well intentioned, but it makes me uncomfortable. I guess I interpret it as pity. No, I've never wanted that. Understanding and acceptance, yes. Commiseration even. But feeling sorry for someone or heartbroken doesn't serve much purpose, in my opinion. It isn't helpful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It is true. I mean, I think that contributes to why we do comedy about it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, sometimes I have felt a little heartbroken when I've read a story from someone with Tourette syndrome, when they're talking about how hard it is for them.
Yep.
And I realize how much different they have it than I do. But it's at the same time, I think if you're always describing it as heartbreaking or you're describing it as how awful it is, it makes people feel worse about it. And it makes them feel worse about what they're going through.
I actually think also that like in general, not just with Tourette's, people need to tune down the words they use.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking is such a big word, and it's like, you know what I mean, and I think that's a thing everyone in society has to think about.
Yeah. There were two responses that actually were kind of talking about a similar thing.
Yeah.
And I know that you have had experience with this, or at least a part that I'm going to talk about. But one of them was talking about how like they actually have severe Tourette's, and there are days where they end up in the hospital because of tic attacks. They said they had one that was 9 hours long with a paralyzing tic. And like the paralyzing tic can lead them to laying on the floor for more than 5 minutes. And someone else also made a comment that some of us use mobility aids due to our tics and other disability aids. So there are people with Tourette syndrome that are actually disabled because of Tourette's. And that's something...
In wheelchairs and crutches and all kinds of stuff, yeah.
There are people... And this is something I really wanted to talk about this. I really think it's important because that's a side of it that people don't think about. They just see us doing things and they go, oh, well, at least they can function.
Yeah.
Like, and I've had that thought of, I mean, like, at least I have that. At least I'm not disabled by this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are things that I realize I can't do because I get terrified to drive a car because of my tics. I've been in car accidents almost because of my tics.
Yeah.
Or I've almost been in car accidents because of my tics is what I mean.
Yeah.
No, and so I don't think I've driven a car in about 4 or 5 years because of Tourette syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is, you can't, like, because there's all this there's all these tics, and it's difficult for your body, and of course sometimes things in your body just give up, and then people have to use all kinds of things to help them, and like you say, that's a part that people never kind of think about, that this isn't just fun and games and people swearing, it's far from it.
Willing to talk about it. Not to give, I'm not going to try to give away any punchlines because you've talked about this on stage. But you do have something that you've talked about, and it is also, I think, important to talk about, is the stigma behind the disabled parking.
Yeah.
Like people seeing you like you drive into a disability spot or disabled spot, and then you get out of the car and you're walking, and people give you that look like, well, you're not disabled. You're walking. You don't need a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Why are you parking there?
Yeah.
People in wheelchairs are not the only disabled people.
No.
And they're not the only people that need these closer spots.
No. And it's annoying. Because of course I have the parking pass in my car. I have that, and there's a reason for that, because the doctors felt like, she has to be able to park near to where she is. But then but here in Reykjavik, oh my God, they have so few disability parking spots. It's like one, I think, like 2 disabled people can be downtown at once, I think. It's so...
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, yes. But not everyone who is disabled need to use a wheelchair. People can have difficulties walking, difficulties breathing, all kinds of stuff. So it's annoying when people look at you like you're doing something
I got a little nervous when you brought up like how it is here in Iceland, because I was like, shit, do you want this to be a 5-hour episode? Like, there's so much we could say on that, but we're gonna get to that another time.
Yep.
Just a few more here. First of all, before we get to the ending ones, thank you to everyone who had these responses or sent them in. We got several emails about this, and it's really nice to see everyone, sticking together and wanting to help each other and really educate the world.
Yeah.
Because there really isn't enough education in this world.
Yeah.
But
heal the world. No,
but
song?
But to close this out, because I'm gonna kind of lump a few of these together because I kind of saved the Coprolalia ones for the end. Mm-hmm. So.
Our favorite.
You know exactly what I'm gonna. And there's one that was in quotations, and I have to read it a certain way. It's Tourette's, so you yell out swear words.
Yes.
I don't even know where to begin on this one. This is so. First of all, not everyone with Tourette syndrome shouts out swear words.
No,
it is actually a tic, and I think it is worth saying that it is a real tic because I think one thing that needs to be said before we get into this is that as much as people with Tourette syndrome are tired of the Coprolalia comments,
they're stereotyping,
that big stigma about it. I think it is worth mentioning to people with Tourette syndrome, because I've noticed some people with Tourette syndrome actually inadvertently, even if they're not meaning to, they kind of Tourette shame other people for having that tic. Yeah. Because they're just like, oh, well, it's such a small few of us that have it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not even worth mentioning. It's just like, well, it is still a tic.
Yeah.
It is still there.
And it's very embarrassing for people that have it. And they can, and I think it's difficult. I think I would find it very difficult to have that tic. Yeah. That being said, it's like 10% of people with Tourette's.
Yeah, it's roughly 10 to 12, I think.
Yeah, that has Coprolalia.
I heard Coprolalia was actually on the rise since Trump became president.
Oh yeah, I wonder why.
Just kidding. This is not going to be a political podcast. No. We are not doing that. I don't care what side you take. We're not discussing that stuff. No. But there was one who commented. That telling me I would use Tourette's as an excuse to start swearing at people is not funny. Nope. And I agree. It isn't. I laugh, but that's just because like when you those moments when you relate to something so bad that you start giggling a little bit just because like, oh my goodness, I know there.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Know what you mean. Mm-hmm. That is, and I wanted how I wanted to end this was actually because. How do you feel? Because this has been something that I've noticed for years now, is the moments when comedians make jokes or when TV shows make jokes. Mm-hmm. There are people with Tourette syndrome that are highly offended by them, and there are people with Tourette syndrome that either understand the joke, like accept the joke, or they love the joke. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they love the joke. Sometimes people hate them. Mm-hmm. What is your opinion on people who do not have Tourette syndrome making jokes about Tourette syndrome?
Well, I mean, it depends, like how it's done. Like, for instance, in a movie or TV shows, I would actually love to see a character that had Tourette's and did not have Coprolalia.
Yes.
Yeah, just have the tics. That would be. I would like that. That would be amazing.
That was my only issue with Motherless Brooklyn. Was it would have been nice to have that whole movie no Coprolalia. Yeah. They showed all the other tics. Yeah. And I was like, that's
enough.
It was so cool to see. And then they had that and I was like, so you're just doing some marketing. Okay. Yeah. That's how it felt. That's how it felt. I mean, they did a great job portraying it, but it was just, it felt a little lazy to me.
I haven't seen it. Did you tick a lot when you...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a tick attack within 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, like... I have to be in the security of my own home when I watch it then.
Be prepared to take breaks.
Yeah.
I had to watch
it in my bathtub.
I think I took 2 or 3 breaks while I was watching it.
Yeah.
Because I had to calm down.
Yeah. Remember we were thinking about going to the movies and seeing it together.
Yeah.
Because we knew we would just be like crazy, like ticking, all the movie through. So
is it bad that I wanted to go see that movie in theaters and get kicked out of the movie?
No, it's not bad. It's
because
funny.
I wanted to have that moment.
Yeah.
Just to be able to actually tell people.
Yeah.
Like, do you realize you're kicking out a guy with Tourette syndrome from a movie about a guy with Tourette syndrome?
Exactly.
Do you really feel good about what you're doing right now?
Exactly. And like, have you like noticed? I've noticed this with myself. After I started, doing comedy, and after the show started and all that, sometimes I go into situations just hoping that they will go like this or this, and I'm like, and that would be a great bit, Yeah. You kind of set up the situation,
so many times.
It will you will look like you're really weird or something, and then you're like, yes, okay, now I can talk about that. It's I think that's just a part of like embracing what you have, and yeah. But
one of the reasons I wanted to bring up the topic of comedians or people making jokes about it, because I mean, in my opinion, as I mentioned, I find at this point, if you're going to make a joke about Tourette syndrome and it's about Coprolalia, that's just lazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
So first of all, there was a joke that was done at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival that won the best joke of the festival. And the joke was, I forget exactly how it was worded, but it was something like there was a florist who kept shouting out, or there was someone who kept shouting out like broccoli and cauliflower.
Yeah.
And I guess they had florets. Now, in my opinion, I thought, because I love a good pun. I love a good pun. I found that really clever.
Yeah.
I thought it was, and how it's like the way that he actually worded it was even more clever than I said it.
Yeah.
But I found it very clever. But a lot of people with Tourette syndrome were offended by it, and that's why I was kind of curious. What your because there's one other joke I want to talk about from a TV show. But I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, like I said, it depends. Like, if Alex, for example, did a Tourette joke, Alex is Dan's girlfriend, and
the Tourette whisperer.
Yeah, but and she does it like in a loving way, like oh Dan is like it's fine,
right?
But if you don't have Tourette's and you go on stage and just to make fun of Tourette's, I don't know. I usually don't like that kind of stuff because when I make fun of stuff, I want people to laugh with the things I'm joking about and not at,
You don't want them mocking you.
No, and like everyone else, but for that matter, like, yeah, I don't know.
Because the other just real quick, because the other joke, we actually talked about this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember it, but
Probably not.
I thought the other joke was in the Sabrina Teenage Witch, the newer show that's on Netflix. I can't remember the actual title. It's like the chilling tales of Sabrina or something like that. But there was a joke about it where they were talking about someone who was possessed by a demon.
Yeah.
And as soon as they say something about the possession, one of the other characters goes, "Oh, you mean like Tourette syndrome, schizophrenia, or epilepsy?"
Yeah.
And what I thought was so clever about that was, first of all, it wasn't a Coprolalia joke. It it was about a topic that is rare, like unless you're at like Catholic schools or something like that, it's rarely talked about the fact that people genuinely thought that people with Tourette syndrome, schizophrenia, or had epilepsy were possessed by demons.
Yeah, and actually, I watched a lot of Criminal Minds, the TV show.
It's all a big circle back to the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, and no, it's just a TV show. And actually, in one episode there, they were dealing with like something that people are like, yeah, he's possessed, And then one of the cops said, yeah, I mean, that's, people have thought that for ages, but he probably just had Tourette's or schizophrenia, Right. And I agree. I like that because it can, that we want people to talk more about Tourette's, and we want them to let us be normal.
Right.
We're just a part of the human race. We're just normal. So why wouldn't you talk about it in TV and stuff? And so I'm calling for someone doing a person in movies or something with Tourette's with no Coprolalia. That's what that would make me really happy.
I think if they started there, that would be a good start.
Yeah.
I think it would be a great start. And I think just getting just getting something new, just getting something that people don't talk about, talking about that, doing it in a way that's not mocking the syndrome, but making light of making light of the struggle, the suffering.
Yeah.
Not making people feel better about the fact that they have it.
Yeah, and the movie wouldn't even have to be about Tourette's. It's just a person in it that has Tourette's, and it's just normal.
Like I say, I like a good pun. I like a good wordplay. I mean, when Jimmy Carr said people with Tourette syndrome, what makes them tick?
Yeah, exactly.
To me, I was just like, all right, you know what?
Yeah.
I love the wordplay there.
Yeah, I do not get offended by things like this.
But I understand when people are offended.
Yeah.
And I totally get that.
Yeah.
And I respect that because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all fighting for the same cause.
Yes.
We are all fighting for all of us just to be treated better and accepted.
Yeah.
And so I do. Yeah. So anyway, we're at the end here. Elva, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
This has been an exceptionally awesome episode.
Yeah. Can you see our ticks are calming down now?
They're calming down.
Both of our ticks are just like I've been noticing it the last 5 minutes that we're like.
We're getting the cool down moment.
Yeah.
Before I do the end,
we peaked, and now we're just going down.
We've hit our peak, and now we're just like, all right, we're at the end here.
It's so nice.
It's about to be like one of those coffee shop podcasts where it's like, now we're at the soft, soothing, calm jazz moment of the podcast, where we're going to start now by listening to some calm, soothing music and just breathe in and breathe out. Yes, miss, I would like another coffee, but I'm in the middle of a podcast, so can you please leave me the fuck alone? Thank you.
I'm in the middle of meditation.
I'm in the middle of meditation.
I'm not sure if coffee does, the
I'm
trick.
finding my inner zen, and you're bothering me in the middle of my podcast. Please leave me alone. I actually used to have a teacher that spoke just like that.
Oh, it's horrible.
But anyway... But also, again, thank you to everyone who submitted responses to my questions or my posts and sent in the emails. Please, anytime you have anything you want us to talk about, it doesn't have to be about Tourette syndrome. It can be about anything. Just send us an email over to info@mvhtshow.com. That's info@mvhtshow.com. MVHT like My Voices Have Tourettes. If you want to find out more information about us, you can check out our Facebook, facebook.com/My Voices Have Tourettes. Or if you're not using a computer because you're, modern, you can just search for My Voices Have Tourettes. We also have Instagram at My Voices Have Tourettes. We have Twitter at MVHT Show. Well, we also have a Pinterest where I'm putting quotes from our podcast. We also have
YouTube.
We have YouTube. Just search for My Voices Have Tourettes. You'll find us there. We have a website, mvhtshow.com. Also, if you guys want to support the podcast, we just, because of support from our fans, we finally got a camera.
Yeah.
Which I believe right now I'm actually doing this off camera.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we got a camera. Well, we did a little bit of a test with it in this episode, but we are going to try to get that set up to actually record this as a video podcast soon. So, but if you want to
support... It will make more sense.
It will make way more sense.
Our takes when people can see us.
But if you want to support the podcast, help us maybe get a second camera for some close-ups or some angles or some sexy shots. I don't know. You can check out our PayPal. It's paypal.me/MVHT show. That's paypal.me/MVHT show. However, this podcast, thankfully, has been sponsored by Gamesless Studio, the Secret Cellar, Iceland's first and only comedy club, and Smouty's Volcano Sauces, my favorite hot sauces I've ever had in my life.
They're amazing.
And also because of the video, we can actually do some chicken wing stuff soon, or some hot sauce stuff. And also, if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any of those streaming services, please feel free to follow or subscribe, or leave us a good review. I mean, of course, we love when you leave us the 5-star reviews and give us, these epic, we love, the people that come on this podcast. You're amazing. But if you really think that we suck, please tell us.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be doing this podcast for 10 years and then have someone finally go, you realize that you sucked from day one. I want to just know that we suck so we can know what we can work with.
Yeah,
we can change.
We don't get hurt by it. We're used to sucking.
Oh, we're used to sucking. Yeah, it's... I'm going to stop there. But anyway, other than that, thank you all so much for listening. Share this with your friends, and we have new episodes every Tuesday.